brings us to this point. Once we recognize that this world is in our home, that once we recognize that the perspective of faith is eternity with the Father, that Jesus' resurrection is the foundation for which my faith rests, because if he didn't rise, he's not coming back, then my faith in this life really is useless, and that really I'm to be pitied of all men. And because of the fact that he's coming back, then I realize that this world is not my home. I'm just passing through what's passing away. And then finally, when I realize that I'm passing through what's passing away, I'm going back to my Father. Faith weighs our present actions in light of eternal rewards. Faith weighs our present actions in light of eternal rewards. Watch this. Hebrews 11, 24, 25. I keep saying, well, I'm doing a 40-minute message. One of these days, I'm going to get down to 40 minutes. Listen. Hebrews 11, 24, 25. Watch this. It was by faith that Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. He thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt. For he was what? Looking ahead to his reward. Now watch this now. Watch this. So because of faith's perspective, because of this trust, because him understanding that there was a promise beyond this world, Moses chose to share the oppression of God's people. He refused to be called Pharaoh's daughter. Now today, if some of us would have been in there, we'd have been like, oh, call me Pharaoh's son, because that's favor. That's the favor of God. That's favor. I'm in Pharaoh's house. That's favor. Right? You know what? Listen, you know, but no, Moses said, no. I choose to share the oppression of God's people. Jesus said, in this world ye shall suffer. You shall have persecution. I wish I could tell you that trusting God was going to cost you anything. For real. I wish I could tell you that. I wish I could tell you that serving God, giving God the essence and the substance of your life was going to be easy, that you'd never be challenged, you'd never be pressed out of measure, you'd never sit in the parking lot someday crying and weeping and saying, God, I can't do it anymore. I wish I could tell you that. I wish I could tell you that all your kids are going to serve God with joy, that your marriage will never go through any trials or struggles, that your finances will always be perfect. I wish I could tell you that. But I've been lying to you, and we've been lied to in the church far too long. Amen. It will cost you to serve Christ because it cost him to save you.
Go ahead. Tell it. Yes.
Moses had a perspective. 26 says he thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt. Egypt is a type and a pattern of this world. Egypt represents the world system. He said it's better to suffer for Christ than to receive all of the substance and the rewards of this earth system. To see the rewards of something that's passing away. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. At the end, it all goes back in the box. All your degrees, all of your investments, all of your portfolios, all of your accomplishments, it all goes back in the box like Monopoly. But Moses had a perspective that caused him to be looking ahead to his great reward. Look at 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 more verses and we'll be done. We all right? Yeah. Thank you, Lord. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 17. Watch this. Paul says, for our present troubles. And Paul is talking about being beaten and shipwrecked, run out of town, stranded, bitten by a serpent. Paul didn't ride around with a bunch of armor bearers in the best chariot of his day. No, it cost Paul. I think the King James says for our light and momentary afflictions. Our light and momentary afflictions are working for us a far more exceedingly weight of glory. Oh, I love that. He says, for our present troubles are small and won't last very long, because I'm passing through what's passing away. He says, yet they produce something for us. It produces for us a glory that vastly outweighs them all and will last forever. Somebody, I heard an old song that says that only what you do for Christ will last. What you going through? Face perspective weighs our present actions in the light of eternal rewards. Our present troubles, small, but they're working. They're working something. They're working some glory that's going to last forever. So I'm weighing it out. Paul had his battles beat. He said, yeah. I've been beaten, I've been shipwrecked, I've gone through hell on this earth. But they're small compared to what I get in heaven. I can deal with that. Watch this. Verse 18, 2 Corinthians 4:18. He says, because I have faith's perspective to realize that there's a reward for my trials and my tribulations. That those trials and tribulations are working something for me. He says, so we don't look at the troubles we can see now. I ain't focused on the troubles. He says, we do what? Fix our gaze. I fix my gaze. I strain. It almost sounds like what he was saying in Philippians. I press, I reach, I strive. Paul says, I fix my gaze. On the ocean, they tell sailors, in order for them to keep focus and not lose their bearing, to fix their focus on the horizon. That's the picture Paul's giving. Paul says, I fix my gaze on things that cannot be seen. I ain't looking at the circumstances and trials. I ain't looking at you. I ain't looking at the TV. I ain't looking at the newspapers. I'm not living like an ostrich with my head in the sand. I want to be relevant in the context of the culture I live in, but I'm not fixed on that. He says, I'm not fixing on things that cannot be seen, for the things we see now will soon what? They'll soon be gone. Because I'm passing through what's passing away. And I know for us it seems like it's a long time, but remember, face perspective. A day with the Lord is as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years with the Lord is as a day. He said, the things we see now will be gone, but the things we cannot see will last forever. Faith's perspective. Faith's perspective tells me that the end of my faith, the substance of my faith, is eternity with the Lord. Faith's perspective encourages me to understand that the resurrection of Jesus is the foundation and assurance of my faith. That apart from his resurrection and the subsequent return, my faith in this world is useless. It means nothing, and I am in a condition where I am to be pitied if only in this life I have faith. But that leads me to the understanding that I am just passing through what's passing away. That my real home is with the Lord. That I'm living like Abraham on this earth in a tent, a temporary dwelling. And I'm on my way. That as I'm in this body, I should be moaning and groaning. I should be longing and anxious in anticipation. And then finally I come to the place where I realize that because I'm going home, that when I get home, there's a reward for what I experience here on earth. That these momentary light afflictions cannot compare to the eternal weight of glory that's waiting to be revealed in us. When I come to that place, I understand the perspective of faith, that faith becomes for you and I like a GPS system. Faith becomes our glory preparation system. It helps us to navigate. You know, when you got your GPS, you set the destination on there, you start riding, right? And you get off, it says, rerouting. You missed your turn. Would you like new coordinates? Would you like to be rerouted? Faith helps us. Faith's perspective helps us to see. It helps us to discern. It helps us to understand so that we can reach the ultimate end of our destination. And that's eternity with the Father. Now you might say, I hear you, brother. This all sounds good, but what's the next thing I do? Look at Romans 12. Romans 12:1. He says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him. And it goes on to say, and be not conformed to the ways of the world, because it ain't your home, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may be able to prove what is the good, perfect, and acceptable will of God for our lives. Faith's perspective. God's calling us. He's calling us to lay our lives down for Him, fresh and new. Motivated not by a religious sense of duty, but driven and motivated by faith's perspective, that one day you and I will stand before Jesus. That's no preacher talk, that's no hype. We will stand before Jesus. And you and I will give an account, not for our sins that was taken care of on Calvary, but we will give an account for this life that we lived. And He will ask us, what did you do with all the gifts I gave you? What did you do? What did you do? Did you live them to yourself? Were you caught up in the world? Were you like Didymus? Did you go back because you loved this present world? Were you so caught up in the microcosm of your own life that you forgot about eternity? I've come to the place, man. I've come to the place. I have enough that I already have to give an account for. I want to make the rest of my years count for God. Faith's perspective. What do you want to do? What are you going to do with this gift, this promise, this inheritance that He's given you? It is time for us to stop living selfishly, to go beyond rewarding and patting ourselves on the back for just coming to church, and to become those living sacrifices, to lay our lives fresh and new on the altar, to give ourselves away so He can use you. I don't think we have much time, folks. I don't think we have much time to get this right. If you're here, you've never really, as a Christian, come to this place of faith's perspective, and you want to make a decree, you want to draw a line in the sand right now and say, Father, by your grace, I'm done playing games. I'm done fooling myself and trying to fool others. I want to come clean. If that's you. I just want you to just lift your hand to the Lord. Just lift your hand to the Lord. Don't be afraid of what it'll cost you, because it's going to cost you. Oh, but the rewards, the rewards, the rewards, the rewards, the rewards.
Father, our lives aren't our own. We've been bought with a price. And you said, therefore, we are to glorify you in our bodies. Lord, every hand that was raised, Lord, and every heart that desired to raise a hand but allowed fear to hold them back because they're afraid of making another commitment that they didn't think they could keep. Father, I pray that you would invade their hearts, that you would just overwhelm their lives with your mercy and your grace and your goodness. For you know the plans you have for them, plans for good and not evil, plans to prosper them, to give them a hope and a future, to bring them to an expected end. We commit ourselves, Lord, for you to use us in this generation, Lord, right where we are, with our brokenness, our limitations. We are here. Have your way, Lord. Just sing this song with me.